pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almighty and everlasting God, who presides over all things in heaven and earth, come and preside over these deliberations so that those that make the decisions may be guided by your wisdom.
Thank you, sir. Roll call, please.
Mr. Belishko?
Here.
Mrs. McClay is excused. Mr. Mirren?
Here.
Mr. Brooks?
Here.
Mr. Barrett?
Here.
Also in attendance is Mayor George Brown, City Attorney Tim Henry, Administrator Charlie McCormick, Assistant City Clerk Tracy Smith, and Administrative Assistant Lisa Sanfilippo. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's regular session of council. Please turn off all cell phones. Following are examples of some important council rules. They are not intended to be a complete list. Please adhere as closely as possible to the 5-minute speaker presentation time limit. No persons are allowed to address the council from beyond the rail, except the speaker at the dais who has the floor. The chairperson shall preserve order and decorum and prevent attacks on personalities. Chairperson shall determine all points of order. No persons except city officers or their representatives shall be permitted within the rail during any meeting without the express permission of council. Council kindly asks that the public please vacate the building within 10 minutes after the meeting adjourns. And finally, when members of the administration are speaking, please stand up and speak into the microphone.
Hey. Anyone here wish to speak on pending legislation, those items that are on this evening's agenda? Mr. Troy?
It's obviously a light agenda, so there's not much to say, even for me. But the appointments to the General Municipal Authority, I still feel that, I don't know if anybody's here from these people, but it would be nice if people getting reappointed can talk a little bit about what has happened, give a short summary of the business. I mean, if I wanted to know that as a public citizen, I have to go to a General Municipal Authority meeting, I guess, or get the minutes to the meeting. But it would be nice to have some sort of report from them individually as to what's been going on there and how the city benefits or doesn't benefit from the actions that have occurred, from the business that has occurred during the past 6 months or year or whatever. This is the authority that runs the golf course, correct? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, remember I was nominated for that, but I got shot down.
I was on it.
Anyway, regarding the, just to be more specific on the equipment for the fire department, it doesn't really say what, I guess it's some sort of, doesn't say what sort of equipment it is. I don't know if the mayor can fill us in there. It doesn't say where the money's coming from. And it doesn't say what these issues are specifically, to address issues if necessary for the Luzerne County Transportation Authority. So I assume that the LCTA came to the city with certain issues, certain concerns, and the city responded accordingly. Just a general comment on this. I know that the fire department is doing overall an excellent job protecting the citizens, protecting property and so forth, doing the best they can. But I'm still perturbed somewhat. Years ago, this was the case. I don't know if you remember when two terms ago, not when Mr. George was mayor, but his predecessor, Tom Layton. There was quite a problem there with closed firehouses, local firehouses, that I think something, I mean, my point here being, back to the specific point here, is would this benefit, I don't assume this is going to benefit the citizens overall, this $22,000 or whatever it's for, whatever issues are necessary. I wonder if those issues, yeah, you know me, I'm always trying to advocate frugality, being very cautious, discreet in spending. So 22,000 may not seem like a lot, but the question is, does this somehow benefit the citizens overall, or is it just for the LCTA? And these issues were internal. Could the LCTA address these issues, so-called, internally, rather than having to buy more equipment, and where is that money coming from? So those are my concerns there, and, you know, I know I'll be able to get more specifics from somebody, but that's all I got. Thank you.
Mr. Troy, I'll speak on the first, as far as the appointees, if that's okay with you.
Please, this is your meeting, Bill. I'm just addressing.
I know you want to address the other issue. Okay, on Tuesday, at our work session, two of the persons up for appointment this evening were here, and one of them is here right now. Mr. Robinson is here again this evening. Both addressed council, talked about why they want to be appointed, why they would like to be.
Well, that's good.
They were here, and of course,
At the work session,
the reappointments we're familiar with, yes, sir. And as far as, you kind of answered your own concern about finding out what about the general municipal authority is actually doing and going to the meetings. So you addressed that concern yourself. That's the best way to do it. Go to a GMA meeting and talk to them and find out what is going on and ask them if any concerns that you may have. Take it up with them. And Mayor, if you want to speak.
Mr. Chairman, can I have a word here first?
Of course.
Mr. Majikis, which is a reappointment, and he's the current chairman, he had called me today and said, Mike, I really wanted to come. Please tell the rest of council I can't make it today. He actually is sick. He is doing a Z-Pack and something else he told me, so he's sick. He would be here. Mr. Majikis, that is, the second one.
Majikis.
Yeah. Come here, sorry.
Mayor.
Who's the chairperson? Is it
He's the
Majikis?
chair.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As we discussed at the work session on Tuesday, as LCTA was building this $81 million facility, I met with the fire chief and I said, Chief, is there anything that we need in case something should happen at the new facility that we don't have, that we haven't budgeted for? And he said, yes. And he and his staff put together a list of items that could be needed in case there's ever something that happens at the new $81 million facility. They identified several items, and it came to $22,000 some dollars. We are being reimbursed for that money by LCTA. So the city has to purchase them now because there's a time it takes to purchase it before we receive it, so we have to purchase them now. But once they're in and we invoice LCTA, they're going to pay back 100% of the cost. So there's no real outlay to the city other than just the initial purchase, but we're being reimbursed. So
That's
it was
good.
nice enough to Mr. Fume and the LCTA board to agree to pay for those pieces of equipment that are necessary.
Thank you.
Mayor, I also spoke with Chief Delaney about this as well, and he described the equipment, and the equipment is not unique to the LCTA authority. It can be used in other situations and in other events as well. So it's not just something that is going to be put on a shelf and reserved just for that facility.
Something that could be mounted on the fire truck, though, right?
Wherever they store it, they store it. I'm not quite.
And there's some radio equipment as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on pending legislation? Okay, Ken.
Okay, so we need a motion and a second on the consent agenda, which is the resolutions and the minutes.
Motion?
Motion by Mr. Belushko,
Second?
second by Mr. Brooks. Mr. Belushko?
Yes.
Mr. Mirren?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
That's all the business
Okay,
they
you're good.
have.
Okay, Mr. Belisco.
Hold on.
Just say,
Go to Jessica.
Go to Jessica, he said.
Multitasking here.
Can't do them all.
Okay, we're going to go to Mr.
Fine.
Maron.
Yeah, go ahead, skip over me.
take your time.
Mr. Maron?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's like to welcome Councilman Belusco back. It's great to see you.
I'm happy to be back. Believe me, I'm
face.
happy to be back.
And I only have one item to talk about. It's about the Nesmith boat launch. I was wondering when you're going to get the lines painted there. Boat launch? Okay, all right, thank you. That's all I have for today.
Okay. Back to Mr. Belisco.
Okay. You see in front of you, I got from my latest report from the Sanitary Authority. Mayor and Charlie, you should have one for Robert Sliker too. This is the latest since I have talked to you last. This is a lot of catch basins to be cleaned. I've spoke to the head of the Stormwater Division, And he says, Mike, one thing we're not doing in Wilkes-Barre, we're not doing a lot of catch basins. He said, tell your fellow council members, if they have any in their districts, to let me know, as well as the administration and the public, if there's any around your house that are collapsing. Let your representative from the city let me know, let the administration know. They'll get it back to me, and I'll get it done at the sanitary authority. But other than that, I'm just happy to be back. You wouldn't believe how tickled pink I am. They're really,
Yeah.
you know, when you're sitting in a chair and in a bed for so long, I'm just happy to be back.
Thrilled you're here.
And thank you for all you did for me while I was gone.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks?
Same thing. Welcome back, Mike. Nothing more since Tuesday.
Mr. Thomas?
It isn't.
The only thing I have is something I just recently came to light. Wilkes Lane, and I mentioned it a while back, the curbing in front of 123 Wilkes Lane. It looks like a vehicle might have hit it. Maybe we can do a little remedial work there and repair it. It's that asphalt curbing. I guess it doesn't take much to knock it out of place there, but if we could take a look at that, that would be much appreciated. Okay. Dr. Jerry Reisinger.
Yeah, once again, I'm here to talk about the riverfront and the situation there that's been going on for about 35 years, and especially the Kirby Park so-called natural area. Too bad the public has only been able to really enjoy half of Kirby Park for so many years. This is a picture of my crew team when I used to coach at Wilkes for 20 years. This boat was bought by Alan Kirby. Alan Kirby was a great supporter of our rowing program in the valley here. We had 4 schools rowing here at one time. We had King's, Wilkes, Scranton University, and Susquehanna University. Tremendous rowing program, and I worked with Congressman Konjorski on designing the riverfront so that we could witness our beautiful MAC Conference Championship regattas here. All right? And unfortunately, about a week after this boat was donated by Alan Kirby, vandals smashed 8 holes in it with a hammer. A beautiful mahogany boat that was from Steve Wagner, who was a local resident who coached Rutgers, a good friend of mine. And so that was how we had to survive on the riverfront here in the Criminal Park. Okay, as we were cleaning the park up, the vandals were sabotaging our program, throwing the equipment in the river, burning our office. And so basically we had to abandon the beautiful rowing program here because of a dangerous riverfront park which is unpatrolled and overgrown. And so recently I was invited to give a historic talk to a canoe tour that came through here. They came through last year. They toured the whole river from Towanda down to Plymouth. And I was invited to give another history tour to them. And when they came into the riverfront, they camped, and there was another drug overdose in the park that night. And of course they were camping and wondering, well, the ambulance and fire people were here to save, and all they could say was whoever was over there was carried out in a gurney. Okay, which is nothing new, because last year there was a heroin camp in the so-called Kirby Natural area. And I was involved with that, trying to save 2 people's lives who eventually were murdered by a drug dealer there. And there were 2 elderly women that were living in that camp. They were kicked out of the shelter after 40 days, and they were given a tent by the VOA to go over to the riverfront and camp over there. And when they came to the riverfront, they immediately had their tent burned and all their ID stolen by these heroin dealers that were in the park. And so I witnessed all this because I walk my dogs there every day along the riverfront about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and all these characters are in the woods over there threatening myself and my wife, okay? And so I said, I can't take this anymore. So I went into the camp, brought food, because there was a pregnant woman in there, 8 months pregnant, and I found her laying on the ground with a needle in her arm. And so I said, this is serious stuff. And they had a table there with needles, and there were 4 or 5 heroin dealers there. And this was in the riverfront, right next to the Market Street Bridge. And so that was, I call it summer from hell. I mean, because 2 guys died that I knew they were murdered, and these women, these elderly women, we finally found them a place to get back into the shelter. And they finally have a home now in Nanticoke. But this is an ongoing situation in our riverfront. And it's been going on for 35 years, and it's easy to clean up if you apply to grant writing through the Olmsted Association and clean it up, because it isn't an old zoo, okay? I grew up in that park. It's a swimming, beautiful beach and wading pool and horticulture and culture. It was a tremendous part of our culture in this community, and it's turned into a crime zone for 35 years. And I'm tired of it. We have trees now growing into the Market Street Bridge from the natural area. And that Market Street Bridge is really the memorial bridge. It's a memorial to the veterans of World War I. And the eagles on that bridge represent the Choctaw Code Talkers who won that war against the Nazis, all right? And right now, the most disgusting graffiti is on the arches and the culverts of that bridge. And we're having a river festival coming in next week. And it's insane. I mean, to see that, and to see all the trees growing into the bridge with graffiti, and after we just acknowledged all the World War II veterans that went into Normandy. And I said, we can't take this anymore. We have to acknowledge the fact that that's a historic Olmsted Park and make it nice for our community again. And I'm not against the homeless situation. I mean, we could do much better than what we're doing, but it's seriously dangerous to the park and to our community. And I experience it every day.
Hey, anyone care to respond? Mr. Brooks?
Yeah. Let's see if it turned on. I'm under the understanding that the Diamond City Partnership cleans up graffiti that we would tell them when they do the bridge, correct? I'm pretty sure.
It's a PennDOT bridge, Tony.
Yeah, I know it's a PennDOT, but I think also Diamond City will clean up the graffiti tags. I can ask Larry tomorrow. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Heisinger. A couple of things I want to bring to your attention. We've been monitoring over in that area. As a matter of fact, a week ago, our Fire Chief, Jay Delaney, was over there with people, and he gave us some information about what's happening over there up to date, okay? What I want to make sure you're aware of is on June 17th, I'll be presenting a check, and I'm hoping City Council members can be there with us for $109,500. And that day, we're going to open up a homeless shelter for 50 people. Every night, there'll be a place for 50 homeless people to sleep, which we're hoping is going to help with some of the people that are over in that area. Now,
Can I briefly interrupt you?
Let me just finish, okay? So after the $109,500 is going to pay for 1 year, okay, for people to sleep at Keystone Mission. They'll be able to get showers. They'll be able to get, like I said, meals. They'll be able to get some clothes cleaned over there, but also helping them get their identification cards and other cards, and even helping them to try to get into housing, permanent housing. So that's something that's going to start on June 17th. After that first year, that $109,500 is used up, Keystone Mission is putting that as part of their yearly budget, and they will, at that point, continue to provide housing for up to 50 homeless people every single night going on. So starting next week, there'll be a homeless shelter open every night, 7 days a week. That's going to be a safe haven for people to go to. So we're hoping that that's going to have an effect on what's happening over at the river area you're talking about, but at least people now will have a place to go. If they don't have a place to go, the other shelters, if they're filled up, this is a place for 50 more people. So I invite you, if you want to come over, please be there. But it's at the Keystone Mission, or anybody else wants to be there next week on June 17th at 4:30, and that'll start that night, a homeless shelter in the city of Wilkes-Barre that not too many places have, but we'll be opening that up for the first time. As you said, it's been 35 years that that's been a problem. I don't think we've had a shelter like this in 35 years to house 50 people on a 7-day-a-week schedule. So we're looking at that.
I think that's a great situation, but I just want to inform you, I know all the people living there. I see them every day. I talk to them. They don't want to leave the park, okay? They're going to fight you on that. You're going to have to send them, listen to me. You're going to have to evict them with paperwork, just like they did up in Larksville and Edwardsville for the levee situation. They had to evict all those people because that's where all the meth was coming from, okay? But that's just one issue. We need to clean the park up. We need to clean that park up. It's not a natural area. It's obstructing the flow of water. The bridge is now a dam, okay? I invited you to come for a walk 2 years ago to take a tour of the park.
I did take a walk with you.
Not with me.
Yes, I did.
Dr. Reising, we're not going to go back.
Yeah, I did,
Okay.
because I told you.
That was years
Excuse me.
ago.
I told you I had sciatica, and you told me what I should do for it because you're a chiropractor.
Okay.
So I remember taking a walk with you.
Yeah, but that was years ago.
Well, yeah.
Right after you were nominated
Doctor,
as mayor.
Doctor, he's aware of the situation.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Well,
we're working on it.
okay.
And we're going to do the best we can. But the first step, Dr. Reisinger, is having a place for people to go to.
Okay, I agree.
And we're doing this, that's never been done before.
I
okay?
totally, I think
And
it's
we're
great.
spending money that's never been spent before. We spent $300,000 putting that Keystone Mission program together with the help of City Council and their approval. We spent $300,000 in building a place for people to go that never had a place before. So we're spending a lot of money, and we're going to be doing what we have to do to help those people, but also provide a place for them to go.
Thank
I
you.
can only provide a place to go. I can't make them go over there.
You might have to. And the thing is, the situation is,
Doctor,
we-
Doctor,
what?
we're well past your time.
Okay, we have a serious flood situation, safety situation with the landscaping
Yes.
of that park. It's a National Historic Site, and it's a disgrace.
Mr. Belcastro.
Good evening, Don Belcastro, Hellman Street, Miners Mills. There's three things I'd like to discuss with you. Last year, North Washington Street was repaved. That was great, but there's one problem. From Beatty Street up to East Main Street, there's no double yellow lines. Don't know why they were never repainted. They were there previously. The second, in, I believe it was March, I emailed pictures and description to Dave Lewis, I believe, or DPW anyway, about the Mill Creek wall is crumbling at the Sydney Street Bridge. There's actually a hole right through it from the 33 West Sydney Street side, and if you walk across the bridge on Carbon Sales side, it's actually crumbling and falling into the water. Now, the third thing, last Friday, there were two loose pit bulls. One of the dogs went after my buddy's cats. The second one viciously attacked him. He's in bad shape. Apparently, the dog warden punches out at 4:30. Doesn't work on the weekends. That's wrong. Something as vicious as this, he should be on call. He has over 1,000 stitches. Needs plastic surgery. I've been taking him to the doctors, trying to help him out. No one's contacted him to get a report of any kind, not the police, not the health department, not the dog catcher. Supposedly, a neighbor on West Sydney Street told me that the Pennsylvania Department of Health and someone from the city, don't know who, was over at the West Sydney Street address. I know the address. I don't want to give it out. The owners of the dogs, they were given back to him or them, whatever, and quarantined. They never produced any type of information for their vaccines. They were there on Monday. Now, they were given till 4:30 to call with this information, never did. At that point in time, the dog should have been seized on Tuesday. It's just, it should have never happened. It did. And I don't know he doesn't know where to go from there. Nobody has contacted him. What do you do? I wish he would have called. I was outside. I would have taken care of it. I guarantee that. He can't walk. Too good, anyway. It's sad.
There.
Hi, Donnie. In preparing for tonight's meeting, I asked our health department to put together a report for me regarding the dog bite. And I'm going to read to you what I received from our Director of Health Department. On Friday evening, June 7th, the Wilkes-Barre Police Department responded to a dog bite incident, 11 Barrier Street at 5:30 p.m. The police located the owner and informed them of the proper procedure to quarantine the dog. On June 10th, the animal enforcement officer spoke to the bite victim on the telephone and learned of the circumstances that occurred on the evening of June 7th. Animal enforcement officer explained to the bite victim the importance of obtaining a series of rabies vaccines in a timely manner. The animal enforcement officer then met with the owner of the dog on Monday afternoon. At that time, the animal enforcement officer, in collaboration with the Pennsylvania dog warden, learned the owner of the dog had no evidence of rabies shots or a dog license for the dog who did the biting and for an additional dog. Animal enforcement officer and the Pennsylvania dog warden then conducted an investigation to gather enough evidence to meet the criteria of charging the owners of having a dangerous dog. After gathering evidence from interviewing the person who was bitten and observing photos of the injuries to the bite victim, they immediately determined a dangerous dog charge was warranted. Citations were filed for a dangerous dog who did the biting, causing injury to a human. Lack of dog licenses for 2 dogs who lived at the owner's house, 2 rabies certificates, and 2 dogs running at large. So those citations were issued. But also I want to thank you because you had sent me a video.
That dog was so fast that hit that kid.
Let me finish.
Okay.
And I want to thank you because you sent me actually 2 videos. They were forwarded on to this department to help with the investigation that's ongoing. So they have been, the dog warden that you're talking about apparently was involved. I know our health department, animal enforcement officer was involved, but the person has been cited for numerous things. That's the most information I have for you that's up to date as about 5 o'clock today.
I appreciate it, but, I mean, they didn't provide information of their vaccinations. They were given a chance. They squandered that chance. The dog should have been immediately seized.
Don, there's regulations that we have to adhere to. I know, Captain.
But our quality of life is, we got to live with these dogs in the neighborhood?
No, the dogs are quarantined, okay? But the thing is, talking to our Department of Health, there are ways that we have to address this.
I understand.
According to the regulations, and we're doing everything we can, but they are quarantined now. The owner has been cited. This is not stopping the situation.
No.
We're continuing to address this, Donnie. So we're going to continue. But I want to give you, anyone else that might be here for that same reason, an up-to-date report of what's going on.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Bill, if I may.
Magdalena, oh, I'm sorry.
Bill, if I may. Jim, this would be like a civil suit. Wouldn't it actually be a civil suit towards the dog
Oh,
owner?
it certainly could turn into a very serious civil
should
suit,
be.
yes, yes.
I mean, it's responsible dog owner, obviously, and we can't force them. The mayor can't force them. Code enforcement can't force them to get licensing and control them, and they should always be tied up. I understand that, but I think it's going to turn into a civil suit.
Well, I understand that, but what are they going to have?
I hear you here. I mean, it does happen. And there's been judgments for the person that was damaged, that took the damage.
It's bad.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
I'll tell you later
I feel
after-
terrible about it.
I'll tell you later after the meeting where he got bit. It's bad. It's
Thank you.
really bad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Magdalena Madel and Tracy Reimeyer. I probably mispronounced your name. Reimeyer. Okay. Pardon me.
First of all, I'd like to say that we are here representing the residents of Southview Manor.
Stop. Just your name.
Oh, my name, okay. Oh, he just said it. Magdalena Model, I reside at 60 Monroe Street, Wilkes-Barre.
My name is Tracy Braymeyer, and I also reside at Southview Manor, 60 Monroe Street.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So we're here representing the residents of Southview Manor. I came to council in 2022 concerning nuisance property at 37 Ray Street. Mayor Brown told me I have to continue to keep calling 911, and he also arranged for Captain Boyle to speak to me, and he said, unfortunately, we still need to call 911, but they should be fined accordingly. Here we are, and it's 2024, and we're still dealing with the loud music, 8 hours or longer a day, yelling, drinking, every weekend. The managers at Southview Manor got involved and went over to speak to them, but no one will answer the door. Many times this year, the police never showed up. Called 3 times in a day, they never showed up. We're over there listening to this music from like noon till after 2 p.m. in the morning. It's ridiculous, you know? While we were there, we noticed the sign. It's in Spanish, and translated to English, it says, "Come join our volleyball league on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday." And of course, that always includes the music and the drinking and all the noise going on. I mean, there's 30 or more people that show up there. The whole backyard is cemented. There's 2 stadium lights. One of them shines right into my apartment when they're out there at night, and they're playing till 10, 11 o'clock at night. I have pictures of everything. If I could send them to somebody, I'd gladly send all the pictures that I took from the house and where everything is situated. And where they got it cemented, it's in their backyard, but it's directly right across from our high-rise in the backyard. We need to get this resolved already. You know, this is the 4th season that we're dealing with this issue, and it's physically and mentally affecting a lot of people over there. You know, we feel like prisoners in our own homes. We can't even go out and sit on the porch unless we want to hear this Spanish music and all the noise and them over there yelling, playing this ball. I mean, is it even really, is that even allowed in a residential zone? I mean, I'd like to, you know, we'd like to know that.
I'd like to say a few things, if I could. I moved there 5 years ago. It was a beautiful place to live. It was quiet. You could hear the birds. It was nice. You could be on your balcony, enjoy it. Now we're reduced to having to stay in our apartments, close our doors, turn our air conditioners, and crank the TV. Now, like I said, I'm not racist or anything, but these people do this every weekend. It's affecting my health. It's affecting Maggie's health. And now we have Kathy Casper involved and Mike Washko. So I'm just hoping that we could get something resolved. I would really love to see a zoning officer over there. And I would also like to know, is there any underage drinking going on there? Because there is a lot of people over there. And this is not a way to live. And I believe if you go under Wilkes-Barre noise ordinance, it will tell you in the first 2 paragraphs, if it's affecting you physically, mentally, or whatever, we can't enjoy our back to sit outside and talk. We can't, because we have to yell. So I'm just would like to see, I mean, I understand we all love music, but you don't have to play it for the whole neighborhood. And that echoes off our building. Maggie lives in the front.
I live right directly across from it.
She lives in the back. I'm right in the front. I hear it too. I and Maggie do call the cops every time.
Bill, if I may. Ladies, excuse me, Mayor. You both you're in my district, District A. I know that area rather well. You say it's 37 race?
Yes.
Yes.
I will tell you, if Chief Coffey was standing here right now and the mayor will verify it, he's going to tell you, call 911. And if they don't come, call them again. And if they don't come, call them again. And
We've
he'll tell
been
you the
doing
same
that,
thing.
though.
We've been doing it.
I understand, but it's going
And
to
then
take some...
sometimes when they do show up, they get them to turn the music down or off, and then they leave, and then they're turning it back on again.
We call them up again. I mean, if they catch them a second time, they will cite them, I'm sure. The mayor would agree. If they do catch them a second time on the same night, they will cite them. Other than that, it's a police issue. I wish we could do more. I wish I could do more. I will be driving by this 37 race. I'm like I said, I'm familiar
There's
with
other
the
issues
Monroe
there, too. I
Apartments.
don't know what's going on with the side of the house. They got great big gigantic electrical wire running outside the side of their house, all the way around, goes around the chimney and all the way back. This is all the power, I guess, they're using back there. You know, with those great big spotlights going on. There's people that's gonna be moving right directly behind them. They're never gonna keep a tenant in there because of them. Never. And, I mean, most of the people there and around the area, they're all Spanish now. You know, all of them there. So they're all sticking up for one another. They're not gonna call the police, you know?
Mayor, I think the mayor would like to comment.
Ladies, would you mind staying 5 minutes after the meeting?
Sure, I have pictures in here.
Okay.
I'd like to give you.
I'll meet with you if you stay 5 minutes after, okay?
Okay,
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sam, Troy?
Got a paraphernalia here. Sam Troy on Joseph Lane. I have a few different items to go over here, my limited time. Listen, I was just wondering, maybe the mayor or somebody on council can answer. I'm still, well, let me get a couple other things straight. First of all, we have a great controller here now. I think he's very efficient and as opposed to his two predecessors, really has control of the job. And on that note, I would love to see, and I'm sure he's willing and able and ready, to give a so-called, I know this is in the works, I guess, a controller's report, like at least once a month, and now you're only meeting once a month, to give a sense of transparency to the city's finances. At least that would, to some extent, open things up. So I think that's very necessary. So I don't know if it's necessary, Tim, to have for them to pass an ordinance to that effect, you know, that he could actually formally speak and give a report. That's what happens in the school board meetings, and I think that's a very good thing, you know, and if council would go along with this, I think that's long overdue, you know. Even if he just speaks for 30 seconds or something, you know, and throws some figures at us. And I'm sure council would benefit from this too, because I'm sure there's a lot of things that might come into the open. Anyway, on that note, you know, I'm a taxpayer advocate to some extent, at least to a great extent. In fact, I get to the point where I guess Mayor Brown and some of you councilmen get tired of hearing my pleas for giving the taxpayers a break. In whatever sense, you know, I've been advocating for a break for senior citizens on property taxes, at least, you know, a 1% break or a 30-day extension on property taxes. I've been advocating for a reduction in Earned income tax, 3% is the highest as far as I know in the county, and it's overburdening the working people of this city who live in this city. I think it's now that the city, as I see it anyway, is pretty financially stable. It's time to look at those sort of things and let's say the earned income tax, maybe lower it by 0.25% or something, 0.5%. Would that be too much to ask? You know, it's a burden for the working people of this city that I think is really unnecessary, because as I said, the city seems to be in a pretty stable situation. And on that note, I'd like to ask the mayor or the council. I just got a bill, Mayor, for my sewer fee, which is I guess $50 or $55. Why do we need that, Mayor? You know, okay, $50 isn't much. To me it is, and to a lot of people who are working just part-time or not working at all, that's a lot of money. Because as I see it, now let me see if I understand this straight. The city gets reimbursed. Why does the city need, that money, by the way, is supposed to go into a sewer fee account. But as far as I know, it just goes into the general revenue account. You could repudiate that if you want, Mayor. I mean, that's the way I understand it. So if that's the case, well, why do we need that fee? Because the city gets reimbursed for all its sewer projects, correct? From the WVSA, and I guess Mike would verify that. And also, I'm still bothered by this line item in the revenue section of the budget. The financial administration, Wyoming Valley Sanitary Authority, maybe you can elaborate on this, Mike. I don't know. You're a member of this WVSA. It's projected to go, I rambled on this before and didn't seem to get anywhere, so I have to, bring it up again. I'm sorry, and I only have a minute to talk. But there's a projected increase of about $50,000 there between 2023 and 2024. Now, is this for, this, as I understand it, this cannot be reimbursement for projects. You can't tell me the city has $300 and some thousand in projects it's going to get reimbursed for. This money, as far as I know, do you know, Mr. Belisca?
I'm listening to you.
Well, it's revenue, as I understand it, this revenue comes directly from the WSA into the city's pocket, not just for the administration of the fees, for collecting the fees, but I don't know, it's just some sort of straight gift. Do you know about it?
I have my opinion on it.
You don't know, right?
I have an opinion on it, when you're done.
If that's the case, again, back to my original question. Why do the residents of this city, here's a fee of $50 that could be done away with, deleted. I mean, the city, is getting $300 and some thousand from the WVSA, besides the fact that it's getting reimbursed for all the sewer projects that are necessary. Not just, well, I guess this applies just to sanitary projects, but I don't know if the storm sewer projects apply as well. I guess that's the end of my time. See, and I also think just one more thing is going to take 5.5 seconds, that the council, being in light of the fact that we have so many problems in this city, should pass an ordinance to meet twice a month for the rest of the summer instead of once. I think it's a disgrace to meet just once a month and act as if there are no problems in the city. Right, Stan? Thank you.
Sam, you're talking about two different things. Just let me explain.
Yeah.
You're talking about the $50 sewer fee.
Right.
That goes towards the maintenance of the sewer lines, okay? That's it. Bottom line.
But we get that from the WVSA, right?
Mr. Troy, let him finish.
No, we would actually do it. Mayor would put it out for bid, and then we would pay for it, and it comes out of that money. As far as the sanitary authority goes, and your stormwater fee, which is $14.90, I think it is, if I'm not correct, or I'm not mistaken, where the city gets reimbursed is all the fees that are paid to the sanitary authority. They take 10% of that and reimburse the city for anything the city does storm-related, stormwater-related.
That's the 300 and some.
That's the fee that you see that sanitary authority reimburses the city out of the 10% of the fees that are paid. And if the city does anything stormwater related, that would be their responsibility. It would be, they could take it out of that for those funds. Otherwise, they can't spend that money. Does that make it more clear?
So that money, if I may ask, can only be used for stormwater projects.
Stormwater related, yes. Street sweeping.
But why is?
Things like that.
but it's still counted as a line item in the budget towards the overall revenue.
Revenue. It would be revenue until it's needed. Yes.
So what if it's not needed? It still goes into the city's coffers, right?
I would believe so.
It stays in the city's coffers?
They have to rectify it, I do believe. They have to rectify it.
You're not sure?
They won't get that.
Mr.
And the mayor might understand a little bit more about it as far as the budget goes.
I have it right here if you want to see it.
Sam, excuse me. I've explained this once.
Or twice.
I'm going to explain it again as a matter of courtessy.
Well, I'm sorry, I still don't
And I'm not going to
understand.
explain it again to you, Sam. The sewer fee, we have sewer cost of maintaining our sewers that well exceed what the sewer fee brings in at $50 a person. Well exceeds it. Give you an example, which I gave last time, the Horton Street sewer, which closed up South Wilkes-Barre for about 10 days, was almost $260,000. That's just one project, and that was a break that occurred. So the simple answer is this. The sewer fee goes into the general budget. There's no requirement that goes into a separately augmented sewer fund. Everybody thinks that it doesn't. It goes in the general budget. It doesn't come anywhere near what the expenses occur in the city of Wilkes-Barre for sewer breaks and problems that we have. It's not even close. Now, the WVSA issue is a revenue line item because it is a possible reimbursement up to a certain amount, and that's calculated by federal law through the sanitary authority. When the city, and we generally do it twice a year, we will review some of our stormwater projects, which are also astronomically expensive, our stormwater lines, which get blocked and problematic and break. We will review those, and then we would submit the cost to WVSA, and they would reimburse the city, but only for those costs that we submit. And those costs are well in excess of $325,000 a year, well in excess. So your concept that somehow that covers the sewer fee and your water costs in the city is inaccurate. There is no excess money there. In fact, the city pays an exorbitant amount, several $1 million over that, over a year. Some years less, some years more, depending on the breaks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McCormick. All right. Mr. Belcastro brought up a comment about the line painting. I know that we are contracting with the line painter. I think we didn't mention that. You didn't answer this question. So that we did contract with a line painting company to share the.
What's that, Mr. Barrett? I'm sorry.
Talking to Mr. Belcastro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anything else from council? No.
Nothing more.
You good? Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
You want to see your mind?